All right, what's going on, guys? So since we've had great feedback from the last video I did on strength principles, now I'm gonna go ahead and transition into conditioning or endurance principles for mixed martial arts. Let's do it. All right, guys, so before we go on, if you wanna find out more details on what I'm gonna go over, I actually have my mentorship program that is 50% off for the next 2 weeks. So check out the link in the description to find out more details on how you can join. Now, let's get on to it. So primarily what I want to do when I have a fighter come in is I want to find out what is their rate limiting factor. What is their issue? Where's their weak points in their endurance? Is it their overall aerobic capacity? Is it their ability to repeat power? So on and so forth. So what I want to do is I want to find out what their rate limiting factors are, and then I can go ahead and appropriately program and get them to where they need to be so that we have a well-rounded fighter. So when you're looking at rate limiting factors, you're looking at maybe primarily 3 things, right? Respiratory issues, utilization issues, and delivery issues. Now with the respiratory issue, basically meaning you cannot optimally get O2 or oxygen into the body and CO2 or carbon dioxide out of the body efficiently. So what we usually see is problems with posture, right? Biomechanical issues. This is really prevalent with a lot of the fighters because you have that kyphotic posture, so they're not able to really get that air in and blow all the CO2 out. So you want to do things like breathing protocols, right? Things that I use are going to be something like Buteyko method, and I've done videos in the past about this too as well, so you can check that out. But basically what you're trying to accomplish is getting that oxygen in efficiently and making sure that they're blowing out all that CO2 so you do not develop any type of lactate buildup or let the body become acidic. All right, so next one, utilization limitation. That's the ability to have blood and oxygen into the muscle but not into the mitochondria for energy reproduction. So these are primarily our slow twitch dominant type of athletes. These are the ones that usually do a lot of long distance or long slow distance running, but they have the inability to repeat power. So that's where we're gonna work on those particular methods to help that type of individual. All right, the next one is gonna be delivery limitations. Now, these are the individuals that are limited in the ability to get blood and oxygen into the muscle. Usually those are the fast twitch dominant athletes. Those are the guys coming from a football background, something that has high amounts of power, but they lack the ability to sustain efforts, right? Sustain a medium to low intensity for a long duration. So we want to work that in, all right? So when you're looking at it from an overall perspective, right? Aerobic capacity, now that's gonna be delivery work, right? So that's gonna be the ability to, again, drive blood and oxygen to the muscle, right? So what we're gonna do is, for that, we wanna work in zone 2, where we wanna do maffetone training, which is 180 minus your age, long slow distance running or escalating density training inside the weight room. Basically, we wanna work in low heart rate zones, and we wanna work that sustain throughout the time frame of the training. Threshold training, right? So that's gonna be your delivery / utilization training. That's gonna be primarily in zone 3 and 4. And usually, like, I like to do circuit training or lactate threshold training, getting closer to the fight. And I'll go into details in that in a minute. Right, now you have your power endurance or your alactic and aerobic capacity training, preferably called utilization and desaturation training. So these are gonna be the guys that need to work on, let's say for instance, if their limitation is the utilization, right? We wanna make sure that we are working that to enhance their capabilities. Usually you're gonna be doing some type of red zone work, sprint repeats. These are where your hill and your stadium runs come into play too as well. We want to be able to get that quick burst of energy, right? We want to be able to utilize that oxygen as fast as possible and then repeat that bout of energy over time. Last one is going to be blended energy system training, and that's going to be working on the respiratory work. So those are the respiratory limitations that we're talking about. The way you're going to be working that is usually like a high-low or a low-high interval. You want to sustain that in acyclical movement patterns. So usually I like to do this inside the weight room. This can be something of a circuit again, but again, we're going to keep it either low intensity and then we're going to ramp up to a higher intensity and then bring it back down. So you're getting that steady flow of desaturation and then also saturating the blood or saturating the muscle with that blood to allow for one, more ability to take in oxygen and let off CO2 throughout the entire time of the training session. All right, so here is an example of an in-camp schedule And I've done this in the past, so if you want to find out way more details on this, I've done a couple of videos that you could check out. Again, you can also check out the mentorship, link is in the description. So 8 to 5 weeks out, this is talking about in camp, because usually we start camp about 8 weeks out. Monday is going to be something along the lines of zone 2 or mapatone running 30 to 45 minutes, and this is going to be light intensity. The reason why is because they have all this other training that they have to do throughout the weeks, so we don't want to tax them too much, right? We want to just make sure that we're getting good blood flow, especially for the ones that have that delivery limitation. This is going to be really good for them. All right, now Tuesday, they usually come in for strength and conditioning. So we run a concurrent system. You guys know, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, we run a concurrent model with the condensed conjugate. So they're gonna be doing their strength and conditioning, so we're gonna do some sprint repeats so that we don't confuse the organism. We're gonna keep it in that same realm, right? So they're gonna be doing sprint repeats after their strength work. Okay, so Wednesday is gonna be a low to high interval. We're working that respiratory limitation. The goal again is to take in oxygen efficiently and let off CO2. So we really wanna preface the fact that they have to have good posture. We're breathing diaphragmatically throughout that lumbar spine, and we're creating that ability to take in that oxygen more efficiently throughout a time frame that is going to be conducive for the fight. Now, Thursday, we're back to strength and conditioning again. So they're going to hit their weight training, and then they're going to be doing their sprint intervals, whether it be a prowler push, an incline treadmill sprint, something like that. All right, now Friday, they're going to go back to zone 2. So we're going to give them a slight break there. This one's going to be, again, lower intensity, 30 to 45 minutes. And you can do that in a 3-week pendulum wave where you go 8 weeks, could be 30 minutes, 7 weeks out could be 35, 6, so on and so forth. Just work your way up. You can go in 5 minutes up, or you can do 10 minutes up, depending on how in shape the athlete is. Saturday is going to be another strength and conditioning session, and we are going to finish off with some sprint repeats. I like to alter or change the modality of the sprint repeats, whether they're doing some type of prowler work, or again something on the treadmill or a woodway, or you can even do something like if you want to give their lower body a break, you can do something with battle ropes, or you can do something with the sledgehammer slams too as well. Now, Sunday is going to be off. I like to get them guys to just rest and recover. If they want to do some type of like active recovery, that's fine. But the goal really is to allow their body to rest, allow their central nervous system to just release tension and get them back down to a parasympathetic state so that they can be better for the next week ahead. Now, getting down into the thick of things, we're getting closer to the fight. That's 4 to 1 week out, right? We're still gonna run in our mapatone ranges, so 180 minus our age. The volume is gonna be dropped down, so they are gonna be doing 30 minutes here, nothing more than that, because let's face it, they're not gonna be running for more than that, or not gonna be doing anything for more than that inside the fight, right? You got 25 minutes total or 15 minutes total, so we don't wanna pass that too far. Tuesday, right? Strength and conditioning session again. Now it's gonna be focused on red zone work. So now we're gonna be really getting into more of that threshold training, circuit training, somewhere along the lines of that. We're trying to really increase the intensity there, but again, minimize the duration. All right, Wednesday, we're gonna go back to the respiratory work, going low to high intervals and acyclical fashions. All right, Thursday, again, back to the red zone training. And again, this can be something different from what you did on Tuesday. Let's switch up the modalities a little bit there. Keep the acyclical patterns. Like for us, we have that condensed conjugate. So primarily the focus would be on Thursday would be upper body for their strength work. So we'll be doing something with the upper body in the same exact threshold or red zone zones that you want to work in. All right. Now, Friday is going to be zone 2 training. Again, bringing down the intensity and minimizing the duration. Again, you could do something like long slow distance running, or they can get into the pool. We like to do a lot of pool work because minimizing the pounding on the body, especially deeper into camp. So that's something we like to utilize, especially if they know how to swim. If they don't know how to swim, don't throw them in the water. Trust me, it's not gonna work out well. And then Saturday, right? We're gonna finish off the week with a hard threshold training, zones 3 and 4. We're gonna do a circuit style, and this is gonna be more sport specific. So this one will simulate the time domains and the movements or the biomechanics of the sport, so that you have that transition built in. So when they go to the fight, they're ready and capable of handling business. All right, now Sunday is gonna be off, like I said. And then usually what you will have here is a structured out program. Again, this is all subjective to the individual. Some may need more on one thing, some may need less, but the focus really is on the days that they need to get after it. Those are gonna be the days that we're going with their bias, right? The things that they're actually good at, because they're gonna fall back to that inside the fight. All right. Their limitations also need to be worked on because let's face it, we want to make sure that we have a well-rounded athlete. So I'm going to work limitations and I'm going to work their bias because I want to make sure they have a fallback plan that's appropriate and is strong enough to withstand that stress. So going back to the limiting factors, right? You have the respiratory, the utilization and delivery. Primarily what you're talking about with the respiratory, we're gonna be working again through blended systems, right? With the utilization, we're gonna be doing more power endurance, and we're also gonna be doing some type of threshold training. And then for your delivery, you have aerobic capacity work in zone 2, maffetone training, LSD, all that stuff there is gonna be very good for the athlete. Now, we love to do aerobic capacity because that sets our base. We do that omnipresent throughout the entire year because they're gonna need that to carry over when the time comes to start camp. When you look at their limitations, we need to focus on those limitations off camp and get them stronger so that we have a well-rounded fighter. Once they start in camp, we still wanna focus on the things that they need. From a training perspective, we want to make sure that their bias or what they are good at, we are still working that. So we're going to throw that into the schedule, but their limitations are also going to be worked. They're just not going to be the focus point at that particular time. So think about this, limitations. We're going to focus on that outside of camp. We're going to make sure we bring that up as much as possible so we have no weak issues. Right? Once we get into camp, we're going to work on their biases. We're going to make sure that they're strong at the things that they're going to fall back on when, let's say, for instance, those limitations start to diminish for them, right? We still want to work the limitations, but we don't want to focus on them. Same thing when you're looking at it from a fight perspective. If a guy is talented as a boxer or a kickboxer, but he needs to work on his jiu-jitsu, obviously off camp, we're going to build up his jiu-jitsu game. We're going to build up his ability to submit and get out of positions or get out of submissions and stand up and strike. Once we get into the fight camp, we want to hone in on his skills. We want to make sure that he's fully capable of utilizing his strengths, which is kickboxing or boxing, but we also want to make sure that he's capable of not getting taken down and also has the defense to get out of submissions. Same thing applies with the endurance training. All right, so if you want to find out more details, like I said, mentorship, down below, link in the description. Also, if you want to train these specific methods of training protocols, all in my programs down below, link is in the description now. Go ahead and check it out. If you like this video, hit the like button. Make sure you comment if you have any questions. I'll see you again next time. Peace.